Never tell your parents how much you make. Yeah, if you're watching this video from Africa, you definitely know what I'm talking about. I know this one may sound strange for some fellows of us who come from the developed world. They're like, what? Yeah, but in Africa, actually, you should not do so. And I'm going to give you several reasons as to why you should never do exactly that. And by the way, don't be shocked. Some of these things that I'm going to mention here are quite relatable. And by the way, it's your first time watching my video. My name is Joseph. Talk about money, investment, anything related to exactly that. And by the way, I usually post a video each and every day. So if you don't want to miss any of my good videos, down below there, there is a small button written subscribe. It is in black. Hit that magical button and also like this video. It doesn't cost you anything, right? I mean, it's only a favor that you can give to me, right? Let's get into the business. Now, why am I saying that you should not share what you earn or how much you earn with your parents? This is how I'm going to give you an example. See, there is this notion that actually hovers and goes around in Africa. You see, parents in Africa tend to view, sort of bringing up their kids and parenting in a different way, because they tend to assume like, hey, by me bringing up the kids, then I'm sort of gonna view them as my retirement benefits or something of sorts, like my retirement plan and something of sort. So they tend to sort of manipulate you. Not all of them, okay, but some of them. For example, say you tell your parents like, hey, I make like, let's say $2,000. $2,000, that's like close to 300,000 Kenyan shillings, okay? Now you tell them that's how much you make, and say you're not married, you got no family, and then maybe they give you a call, they're like, hey, you lend me some couple of thousands, let's say 50,000, and then you tell them, no, I do not have as of now, but I'll look forward into. They kind of sort of develop some gas inside of them. They're like, okay, fine, this dude is not married, you got no family members. Let's say they even some sort of do budget for you. They're like, okay, this guy say they eat like 20,000 a month, you pay your house rent for like 30, they sort of do transport, and like they do everything. They're like, damn, this, you've actually refused to lend me that money. And obviously we all know what happens once you lend your parents money. You know what I'm saying? It's actually gone, okay? So it is good to make sure that you have the wisdom that is needed for you to, relate with your parents. It's not good to tell them how much you make, but if you can support them at any time, it's good to do so. And I fully support you supporting them. That is a good thing. But if you share some of this information, whenever it comes to money, there was a time I said, these are the things that you should never share with anybody. And one of it was how much you make. And I said anybody. I said anybody in the sense that the moment you tell people how much you make, they kind of, sort of expect much from you. And once they expect much from you and then they less get from you, you never become friends. And the moment people sort of build friendship on the basis of finance, you're never gonna get a sincere friendship. Okay, so with the regard of the parents, this is what they happens, and they don't understand. As much as you do not have the family, as much as you're not having more responsibilities of now, you're having yourself a plan. Maybe let's say you've been walking around and you saw a certain mess that happened in your home. Maybe you are brought up in a quite should I say, sort of a rough life or something of sort, and you didn't love the kind of a lifestyle that you're brought up. Maybe you had sort of inadequate things in your life, and you said, hey, guess what? And maybe along the way, as you grew up, you actually realized the mistake that your parents did, and you always say, hey, guess what? As much as I cannot question them, I'm gonna just swallow my pride. I'm gonna just hold it deep inside of my heart, but I'm not gonna do exactly what they did. Okay, now you said, hey, as much as I don't know how to have responsibilities, ain't gonna do myself the thing called, for example, if you come from Africa, they tell you actually get married. They tell you to marry just because you are old. And when you are old, the moment you hit 30, they tell you, hey, guess what? By default of you hitting 30, you have to marry. They disregard the aspect of finance, which is very essential. And then once you tell them, hey, guess what? I can't marry because I don't think I'm financially stable as of now to go ahead and bring family on board. You know what they tell you? Hey, God will provide. It is true, God provides. But at the same time, you also need to have the understanding like, hey, as much as God provides, I have my role to play so that God can bless what I'm doing. Even God himself said, he shall bless the work of your hands. So you ought to be doing something as you move to the next level. So now, see, the moment you realize, hey, maybe let's say your parents got married at 22, 23, 24, around that place. And then within a short period of time, let's say like in a period of 5 years, they had like 4 children. And in that particular case, they got themselves into a ditch as far as the finance is concerned. So with your case here, let's say you are 26 years old, and you're earning yourself like 100,000 at the end of the month, and then you're not marrying, you appear like a mystery to them. They wonder, wow, I got married at 22, I was making nothing. And by the way, that's what they tell you. I was making nothing, I didn't even have money. Guys brought you, by the time I was at your age, I was having 4 or 5 kids. Now, to them is an achievement, and you cannot despise them. To them, at that particular time and era, that's how they viewed life. Life has changed, life has transformed. And that's why I always tell people, if some of the things, let me not say that for now. I'm just gonna finish, then I explain that to you. Now, say you're this particular age and you're not married. To them, it appears as if you are sort of rude to life or something of sort, because they don't understand. You're earning this amount of money, and then why aren't you having a family and all those kind of things? And maybe that's not your goal. You're looking forward into having a different thing. See, you want to accumulate your money, you want to invest. By the time you're bringing them on board, your family, you're already stable. You can be able to provide them, and then you can be able to bring up your kids in a different life than what they brought you in. Number two, there's something I said last time. Don't take financial advice from your parents whom you know they didn't do good whenever it comes to finance. I know this one may sound harsh, but hey, guess what? Just get my point. That's the reality. For those who understand what I'm saying, they'll get my point. You see, don't take that financial advice from somebody. Obviously, they did good, they did amazing thing, they brought you up, but they really struggled along the way. So you cannot really take their financial advice. What you do, you listen to them. Not whenever they start talking, you say, hey, Joseph said we should not listen to you. No, that's not that's not what I said, or that's not what I'm saying. You're supposed to be wise. These are parents and you ought to respect them. But whenever it comes to financial advice, for example, by the way, do you know in Africa you can actually even buy a seat, just a seat. You just buy a seat and a TV, and you have a roof on top of your head. They tell you now you're qualified to get married. But life is different from today. I mean, nowadays, we got no animals. Back then we used to be given animals and lands and what have you. Nowadays, even getting a job, it's a bit tricky. You really need to know what exactly you're doing. And now you're bringing another individual on board. So it is good to make sure that these things to do with how much you make sure that you retain it at the chest. Retain it by yourself. Keep it by yourself. Just live as if you do not have. And I came to realize one thing. This one may spill a little bit far from the parents. If you go to your brothers, your sisters, your aunts, your uncles, your neighbors, your friends, the moment you share how much you make, it tends to make sort of create this unhealthy competition. Even the jealousy, is it jealousy or envious or something of sort? There are these guys who actually feel so bad when you guys achieve things in life. So the moment you tell them how much you make, you engage in a sort of unhealthy competition, with these guys. They always feel like, hey, you're feeling this because you make this amount of money, you despise us because of this and that, the other. It's always good to maintain that cool vibe, even if you have much, just live as if you're just out there, just flow with the vibe. You see, once you flow with the vibe, you also actually, sort of reduce the expectation from people. Let's say, for example, and I've ever given this example, and I'm going to give you, let's say, for example, you try the much as you can to impress people out there. You're always on suits, you're always on whatever. And that's a lifestyle that you're getting yourself onto. And the moment you bring that lifestyle on board, remember one thing, you never know who is watching. Therefore, we do have in a concoction of enemies in between our friends. And then immediately that you do not or you cannot afford to sustain that kind of a lifestyle, guess what happens? They start laughing at you and all those kind of things. So it's always good to make sure things to do, how much you make, the who you love, and all those kind of things. Those are the things that you're supposed to retain them by your chest. Don't share them. Make sure that you retain them at all the time. Because I've seen people, if I tell you the number of guys who call me, inboxing, telling me, hey, guess what? I went to Gulf to work. I went to the Gulf countries. I'm actually in the US. I'm actually in the UK. I'm actually in diaspora, working as much as I can. But I made a mistake. I shared how much I'm making from this place, okay? Because you can get yourself sharing how much you make indirectly without even knowing. For example, you can tell them, hey, guess what? In US here, I'm being paid like $20 an hour. And by the way, in a day, I managed to work like 12 hours. Yeah, and by the way, I only have a rest of single day. They have already known how much you make, all right? So therefore, it's always good to make sure that, hey, don't share this information. And the moment you do so, then they start hanging a lot of responsibilities on top of you. Whenever there is a school fees, you ought to be called. Whenever there's something going on back at home, you ought to be called. Whenever there's a vaccination of animals and all those, some of the things that are not even relevant to your life, you always be called. Whenever they want to plow their land, whenever they want to do anything, always be called. You see, those kind of things, especially right now, we are in holidaying season and all those kind of things. Depends on when you're watching this video, actually. I'm making this video in December. By the way, 3 days to, or rather 2 days to Christmas. So, in Africa, what I mean by Christmas. It's quite a big thing, So the moment they know how much you make, they expect much from you. And by the way, have you realized one thing? The moment you all the time to sort of help people, not really help, I support help, but I say like giving people money or something also, like giving them handouts. They sort of develop a certain habit of kind of laziness or something of sort. They kill creativity deep inside of them. You even ask yourself, what if you were not in existence? What exactly would they be doing? Because I think the problem that we make is that giving people the fish rather than showing them how to fish. It is good to support them. By the way, some people even support them to start a business back at home. Yeah. And once you do support them, these guys don't even know how to run a business. They squander everything that they have. The next minute they're telling you, hey, the business has gone down, it's a down drain. I do not know exactly what I can be able to do. If you do not buy it, by the way, you can put me back to the, the subscription that I had of you sending me a certain amount of money per month or per, you see, you get the thing. So it's always good to make sure that if they don't understand how much you make, they would rather even think you make more rather than confirming to them that you make more. That's the difference. So the moment you confirm to them that you make more, that's the time they will hang a lot of responsibilities. And I'm going to finish with this. There was a video I shared and I told you guys, if you help somebody for the first time, they really appreciate. They say, hey, guess what? I'm telling you, you've done an amazing thing. You've done an amazing thing. The moment you help them the second time, they appreciate you. But obviously, the quantity or the magnitude of an appreciation that was there before, you won't get the same. As you do so several times, by the time you're doing it the eighth time, these guys have already, they get accustomed to you being kind, to you helping them and all those kind of things. To a point whereby they now forget you're actually helping them. They feel now it's the responsibility, your responsibility to actually be doing that. Even when they're scripting or making their budget out there, they even budget that what usually help them at the end of the month. And the moment you deny them, even if it's a single time, they start talking much about your life. And the moment maybe you come on board with your wife and they say, hey, now we know why you're not helping us all along. Now we know why you're not even helping us. Because you got married, I think you got misadvised and all those kind of things. Anyway, if you're watching this video from Africa, you know all those things that I'm talking about. They are relatable and all those kind of things. I know this may sound like strange information from guys who are out there. But anyway, that is exactly what's happening. But guess what? We are fixing our continent, all right? We're fixing our families and we have to learn these things as far as the finance is concerned. It's quite essential so that at least we can progress and move to the next level. And guess what, guys? That marks the end of my video. And by the way, before I even say goodbye, make sure you comment down below. Just tell me, have you ever shared how much you make to your family members? And what exactly happened after you shared how much you usually make? Did things remain the same as it was before? And there's something that you regret about that, you sharing that information to them? Tell me in the comment section exactly what is happening and what's happening. And by the way, what would your suggestion? That's my suggestion. Anyone is open to contribute to this video. For now, it's a goodbye. But don't forget, pick my number from the description of this specific video so that at least you'll be notified. Or rather, you can pick my number to get the booklets of mine and also get my services. My email is as well there. Pick it up. Let's get started. For now, it's a goodbye. See you in the next one.